Felicitous greetings, fellow Fanatics. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Adam the Fanatic, and today we're taking a look at Mario Tennis, a sports-themed RPG by Camelot Software Planning. I bet no one was expecting this to be the next Camelot title that I would take a look at after Golden Sun. First released in Japan in November of 2000, and then hitting North American shores in January of the following year, the GBC version of Mario Tennis was the third game in the series, following the Virtual Boy and then recent Nintendo 64 versions. Players of the N64 knew it was coming as it had Transfer Pak compatibility. More on that in a little bit. Whereas Mario Kart was already known at that point for its wild, cartoony antics where players shoot shells at one another and drop banana peels behind them to trip up enemy racers, the Mario Tennis games are much more down-to-earth in comparison. That's not to say there aren't some exaggerated physics, but by and large, it's more tennis than Mario, especially this entry. As you may have noticed, I've yet to even show Mario on screen. That's because, instead of simply taking a watered-down port of the N64 version of the game, Camelot decided to go a very different route with the GBC version. First and foremost, you don't play as Mario or any of the other famed characters of the franchise, but rather as either of series newcomers Alex or Nina. For this playthrough, I chose Alex. The other major difference is that while the general gameplay does indeed feel similar to the N64 title, this time around you have an ongoing story with RPG-style progression. Before we go further, I suppose I should cover the basic rules of the fairest game ever designed, tennis. If you already know the basic rules of the sport, you may wish to skip ahead to the timestamp indicated on screen. In tennis, either two individuals or two teams of two, referred to as singles and doubles matches respectively, face off as they hit a ball back and forth over a net. Rules for doubles and singles are mostly the same, though I'll be referring to teams. For singles, the same rules apply to players. A team may only hit the ball once, after which it must immediately return to their opponent's side of the court. If a team fails to return the ball, or does so out of bounds, the opposing side wins a point. Matches are divided into a number of sets, and each set is divided into a number of games. For the early parts of Mario Tennis, you'll be doing shorter matches, with 3 sets of 6 games each, but later you'll transition to 5 sets of 6 games each, which is what most real-life tournaments opt for. To win a game, a team must score 4 points, counted out 15, 30, 40 game. However, in order to win a game, a team must win by 2 points. If both teams are tied, then they go into a deuce, also known as 40 all. When a team scores a point during a deuce, they have advantage and may win if they score the next point. Elsewise, they return to a deuce. Similarly, a set must be won by at least 2 games. A 6-game set that has both teams reach 6 games will go into a tiebreaker. Unlike normal games, this goes to 7 points and is counted out normally. Sets within a match are much easier to parse. 3 sets simply means best 2 sets out of 3. Mario Tennis captures the rapid back and forth action of tennis with fairly simple controls. You'll use the D-pad to move and use the A button for a stroke or the B button for a slice. However, you can also press 2 buttons in rapid succession for special kinds of shots. Lobs, high shots that aim for the back of the court, and drop shots, weak shots meant to force an opponent close to the net, can be done from anywhere on the court. Tap A then B to perform a lob, or B then A for a drop shot. If you're on the front half of the court, you can do a smash volley by hitting A and B at the same time. This is a high velocity shot that doesn't allow you to angle it much, but there's no way to make the ball travel faster. And if you're in the rear half of the court, you can do power shots where you slice or stroke by double tapping the button. When you first start the campaign, you'll choose whether your character is left or right-handed. This will matter when positioning them for different types of shots. By varying the types of shots you make, as well as where you make them from, you can try to force your opponent into different positions to make it harder for them to return, or try and force them to return it in a specific manner to make your next shot easier. But as aforementioned, there are also significant RPG elements. As you play games, even if you lose, you'll gain experience points, and when you have enough to level up, you'll be able to train in a single area. But just like in real life, if you only focus on one area, the others will atrophy, so you'll have to balance them out if you don't want to lose points. As you increase your stats, you'll be able to move and stop more quickly, have greater control over the positioning of your shots, or even add extra spin to your shots to curve the ball. But simply playing standard matches isn't the only way to gain experience. There's also a training court which will teach you the basics of the game and more advanced tricks as the campaign goes on. Completing these lessons will also award you XP. It's a pretty sizable bonus when all is said and done. You also have 2 training machines in the gym, each with 4 levels of difficulty, each of which once again provides an increasing amount of experience. Finally, while a rather light element of the game, there are different types of equipment to choose from, which will modify your stats in various ways. You can change out your racket and your shoes, there's only a few to choose from for each. although of particular note are the iron pieces, which actually decrease your stats across the board, but each one you wear gives you a 50% bonus to any experience gained, making them great for grinding. Presentation-wise, the game looks pretty good for a GBC game. Sprites are expressive despite their small size, and the music actually isn't bad. Sakuraba Matoi did the music, and while it's certainly no Baten Kaitos, the set point music can actually get pretty intense. Story-wise, there's really not much to talk about. You start out as a student at the Royal Tennis Academy, and you have to climb the ranks by overcoming your classmates. Do well enough, and you'll eventually be selected to represent the Academy in tournaments. Win in the tournament, and you get an invitation to face off against Mario himself, and Peach if you're playing doubles. There aren't any real twists and turns, although Camelot does their best to give each character a bit of personality with what little time they have on screen. If you're hoping for a grand adventure like Golden Sun or Shining Force, you're going to be disappointed. But were you really hoping for an intricate and detailed story for a sports game, or a Mario title for that matter? Before we conclude, I do need to briefly touch on the N64 Transfer Pak. This was a device that would plug into the bottom of an N64 controller and allowed you to plug certain Game Boy games into them to interface with certain Nintendo 64 games. In this case, it would allow you to take the 4 main characters of the Game Boy Color version and play with them in the N64 version. Additionally, this would also unlock extra courts. In the other direction, it would also allow you to unlock additional Mario characters in the Game Boy version, allowing you to play with them in exhibition and minigame modes. Unfortunately, virtual console releases of both these games have neglected to give players any way to unlock these additional features. All in all, Mario Tennis is an impressive title in a small package. It captures the gameplay of its more graphically intensive counterpart, did I really just say that about an N64 title? And it doesn't feel like it's been watered down any. If anything, I'd actually say that the RPG elements of the campaign mode provide for a more robust, fuller experience than what you get with its home console equivalent. The core gameplay is quite enjoyable, with the flow of baiting your opponent and going in for the finishing stroke feeling strangely like a fighter in that regard. It's simple to learn, but has a lot of options with the way you can use various returns in different combinations to position yourself and your shots. Although the campaign mode doesn't offer much in the way of story, it gives a sense of progression which the N64 version lacks completely. It's very satisfying to watch your character improve like that. In conclusion, I find Mario Tennis for the Game Boy Color to be worthy of an impressive 8.9 out of 10. If you're interested in trying Mario Tennis for yourself, the only real way to do so at the moment is to purchase an original copy. Luckily, it had a large print run, and thus it doesn't cost much on sites like eBay. But what about you? What do you think of Mario Tennis? What sports-themed games do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. And if you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I've worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.